In a burst of light, Wang Lin appeared on the platform where the stone door was. The cave spirit was gone without a trace along with the stone door. If it wasn't for the fact that there were traces of blood that Yao Shishua had coughed out on the ground, he would have suspected that there was an error in the transfer. Wang Lin held the crystal token in his hand. Aside from the chant to enter and exit the cave, there was some information in it as well. After pondering for a bit, Wang Lin's body shot out and quickly moved along the revered dragon path. He quickly moved past the 11 platforms. There was no change on these platforms, and the stone statues remained in Yao Shishua's seals. After what happened in the cave, his cultivation level had increased to the peak of the late stage of soul transformation, so his speed had increased by a lot. He moved like a bolt of lightning and only took half a month of time to return to the first platform. This platform was completely empty, but at this moment, with his current cultivation and what he learned from breaking restrictions for 2 months, he noticed the transfer array that was left by the blood ancestor. Looking at the array, Wang Lin pondered a bit and then took out 4 bags of holding that all belonged to Yao Shishua. If it was before, Wang Lin would have had some difficulty opening these bags of holding with his mid-stage soul transformation cultivation. However, Wang Lin's cultivation had reached the peak of the late stage of soul transformation, and was now even a bit higher than Yao Shishua's cultivation. With a thought, his right hand swiped past the 4 bags of holding and a burst of blood-colored light came from the bags. This blood-colored light was extremely tenacious, and it resisted Wang Lin's divine sense. Wang Lin let out a cold snort, and the celestial spiritual energy in his body moved as well as his origin soul. With one squeeze, the blood-colored light around one of the bags immediately collapsed. Wang Lin didn't stop. He reached for another bag of holding. The blood-colored light resisted for 3 breaths of time before collapsing. Wang Lin wiped out the divine sense imprint on the 3rd bag just like the last 2. He was about to finish it all in one go and grab the last bag when his expression suddenly changed and his right hand stopped 3 inches away from the 4th bag. His eyes became very serious as he slowly withdrew his right hand and carefully looked at the bag of holding. Earlier, when he obtained the bags of holding, his cultivation level wasn't high enough, but looking at it now, he seemed to see some clues. There was a faint purple line within the last blood-colored light. It would be very difficult to notice it if one was not careful. It could only be found with divine sense and was completely invisible to the eyes. Although this bag of holding looks very normal, when I was about to erase it, I had this terrifying feeling. I'm afraid this bag doesn't have Yao Shishua's divine sense. Could it be her father, the blood ancestor? Wang Lin pondered. According to common sense, unless the bag has your own divine sense, you can't open it without wiping the other divine sense out first. However, the blood ancestor's cultivation is heavenly, and he has cultivated for a long time. He might have found a way for his daughter to use his bag of holding without having to wipe out his divine sense. As a result, even if an outsider got this bag and were careless, they would immediately be killed by the divine sense on it. This blood ancestor sure is tricky. Wang Lin slowly withdrew his divine sense. Now that his divine sense was gone, the blood-colored light on the bag of holding immediately disappeared. Although Wang Lin hasn't seen the blood ancestor, after seeing how he had spread misinformation about the blood soul pill and the divine sense trap on the bag of holding, it was as if he had met the blood ancestor in person. While he felt great admiration for the blood ancestor, he also deeply dreaded him. After pondering for a while, Wang Lin carefully put the bag of holding away and placed his gaze on the other 3 bags. He spread out his divine sense and couldn't help but suck in a deep breath even with his strong mental fortitude. The first bag was filled with celestial jades. There were too many celestial jades to even estimate. Wang Lin roughly scanned it with his divine sense. There were at least 10 times more celestial jades than what she had given him so far. The amount of celestial jades needed to reach the ascendant stage is great, far more than the total amount needed before this point. The amount of celestial jades needed for every step after the ascendant stage must be unimaginable. If one doesn't have enough, their cultivation just stops. This before me is a large amount of easy money. Wang Lin revealed a faint smile as he put away this bag of holding and his divine sense moved to the second bag. Looking inside the bag, his eyes immediately released a hint of excitement. The second bag of holding had no less than 1,000 blood-colored jades. During the time he spent with Yao Shishua, He developed strong feelings for the blood jades and also dreaded them very much. Once a jade is broken, the blood-colored light it releases has a very powerful sealing force. Aside from sealing, this blood-colored light can also act as a powerful protection spell. According to Wang Lin's analysis, this blood-colored light should also be able to attack, but it would be impossible to use it without the correct chant and method. Wang Lin's eyes lit up as he touched the bag of holding and a blood jade appeared in his hand. He pondered a bit before squeezing the jade until it shattered. A ray of blood-colored light immediately came out from the shattered jade and floated before Wang Lin. After checking it with his divine sense, the blood-colored light dissipated and Wang Lin thought, I don't have the method to use the sealing function, so I can only use it to protect myself. However, with Yao Shishue in my hands, I can get everything. The third bag was filled with many different things. There were even female clothing as well as some perfumes, small jewelry, and even dolls. Wang Lin directly ignored those things as his divine sense searched the area. His eyes suddenly narrowed as he found more than 10 blood soul pills. These wax pills were neatly placed together. There were dim symbols on them, but they weren't flickering. Not all of the blood soul pills were placed together. One pill was placed in the corner of the bag. This pill wasn't dim, and the symbols on it flickered slightly. Aside from the blood soul pill, there was also a compass on the side. Wang Lin's target was the compass. He touched the bag of holding and 2 items appeared in his hand. The compass and the blood soul pill that were placed in a corner. This Yao Shishue obviously couldn't have thought that she would be captured by me, and have her bags taken by me. So the placement of the stuff inside the bag contains some information. There is an 80% chance that the blood soul pill placed on its own is real. As for the others, I assume they are all fake. In addition, aside from the blood jades, there are no magical treasures inside her 3 bags of holding. I assume things like magical treasures are all inside the bag with the blood ancestor's divine sense. Wang Lin looked at the blood soul pill for a while before putting it inside his bag of holding. As for the fake one Yao Shishue gave him, he took it out and placed it inside one of her bags. Then his eyes fell on the compass. This compass was completely blood red and was made from some unknown material. Holding it in his hand, he felt waves of coldness enter his body. Back then, Yao Shishue used this compass to enter this place. This compass must have some connection with the array here. Wang Lin's divine sense entered the compass and found Yao Shishue's divine sense imprint inside. Wang Lin let out a breath of relief. If this compass also had the blood ancestor's divine sense, he would have had to find a way to modify the transfer array here to leave this place. There was a transfer array to leave this place inside the cave as well. Wang Lin learned of it from the crystal token. However, the transfer array was in the northeastern corner of the cave, and was fairly far from where Wang Lin was located. With all the restrictions in the way, it would be a difficult trip to get there. Otherwise, he wouldn't be in this situation. Wang Lin easily wiped out Yao Shishue's divine sense from the compass, and replaced it with his own divine sense. He immediately found that there was a small formation inside the compass. The formation constantly changed as the pin on the compass moved and hasn't stopped once. This compass indeed also has a formation. The transfer array outside and the formation inside the compass must sync up, or else it will have no effect. Wang Lin's divine sense probed the inside of the compass and studied it for a bit. While he couldn't completely see through it, he was able to find some clues. He used 3 days of time to change the formation inside the compass, then he changed the transfer array on the platform, causing the transfer array to become very different from before. Although Wang Lin didn't change much about the transfer array, he did change one key point. If anyone else besides him were to enter this place, the transfer array would immediately send them back. This continuous transfer would cause space to break open, and that person would be dragged into the void. Just sending them into a spatial rift doesn't mean they will die, so I must add some extras. Wang Lin pondered a bit and then began working on the transfer array. He had used 3 days to change the transfer array but used 30 days to add countless restrictions to it. Not only was he not impatient while adding the restrictions, he felt rather happy. If someone were to really come through here, they would definitely be surprised. Wang Lin's eyes lit up as his divine sense entered the compass to activate it. Then a flash of blood-colored light surrounded Wang Lin's whole body, and after a few breaths of time, the blood-colored light disappeared and so did Wang Lin. There was a burst of blood-colored light on the ancient mountain 1,000 kilometers away from the army camp, and Wang Lin appeared. The glaring sunlight entered Wang Lin's eyes. He looked at the surroundings with a feeling like he was viewing it from another world. The faint outline of ancient Demon City didn't seem to change from when he left. Wang Lin took a deep breath as he turned into a ray of light and charged toward the army camp. His speed was much faster than before, so it didn't take long before he closed in on the army camp. Just at this moment, a powerful killing intent came out from the army camp and locked onto Wang Lin. "Incomer, stop!" A roar came from within the army camp. This voice contained powerful killing intent. At the same time, a ray of black light came from the wall around the camp, creating a black, mist-like protection barrier. Inside the army camp, 10,000 black-armored demon soldiers stood at the center. Before them was a burly fellow in black armor coldly looking outside the army camp. Sima Yan stood respectfully beside this burly man. From his expression, it could be seen that he was filled with respect toward the burly man. Aside from Sima Yan, there were 3 more people in black armor. From their clothes, it was clear that they were also commanders, and their expressions were equally as respectful. Wang Lin's body moved like meteor and didn't stop at all. When he got close to the black mist, he let out a snort and the celestial spiritual energy inside his body spread out. The black mist before him immediately scattered, creating an opening for him, and he calmly stepped inside. The burly man in black armor coldly looked at Wang Lin as he waved his hand and shouted, "Anyone who dares to rush into the military camp will be killed without question." The 3 commanders behind him charged out without any hesitation. Sima Yan recognized Wang Lin, so he hesitated for a bit before clenching his teeth and charging out. Of the 4 commanders, 3 of them were equal to early-stage soul transformation cultivators and 1 of them was the same as a mid-stage soul transformation cultivator. If it was before Wang Lin entered the cave, he could still win, but it would cause him some trouble and delay him quite a bit. This was mostly because the 4 of them had a lot of demonic spiritual energy. As they charged at him, their demonic spiritual energy took the form of 4 demonic beasts that made them even more fierce. But right now Wang Lin's cultivation had reached the peak of the late stage of soul transformation, so he was currently standing at the top of soul transformation cultivators. When he saw the 4 of them rushing at him, his expression was completely calm. "Back down!" Wang Lin stood still and only opened his mouth to say those 2 words. Although his voice was low, it contained the celestial spiritual energy of a peak late-stage soul transformation cultivator. The sound was like thunder echoing in the 4 commanders' ears. Only the commander who was equal to a mid-stage soul transformation cultivator was able to resist it with only his expression changing. The other 3 were only equal to early-stage soul transformation cultivators, so the difference in cultivation levels was too great. Their faces turned pale, and their bodies trembled and involuntarily stopped. Although their cultivation could be compared to soul transformation cultivators, they were still too far below from Wang Lin's level. Wang Lin was now at the peak of the soul transformation stage. Wang Lin's expression was neutral as he walked forward. Although his steps were slow, they were firm. The commander whose cultivation was equal to that of mid-stage soul transformation cultivator immediately took a step to the side, as he didn't dare to stop Wang Lin. As for the remaining 3, they were all filled with shock, especially Sima Yan, who was the most shocked of them all, and he didn't dare to even look at Wang Lin. He felt he was very lucky back then. If he had known that Wang Lin had such cultivation, he would have never dared to provoke Wang Lin back then. But his heart immediately trembled as he thought about what happened to 13 and Hu Pao. He secretly cursed and felt regret. As Wang Lin stepped closer, all 10,000 demon soldiers dispersed to make a path. They all recognized Wang Lin, and the scenes from the past rushed into their hearts. Their complex feelings and fear for their mysterious former commander rose up in their hearts once more. Some of the demon soldiers here were new and had not seen Wang Lin before. Although they had doubts in their hearts, after seeing how even the Lord Commanders didn't dare to stop him, they all involuntarily retreated. In almost an instant, a long passage appeared before Wang Lin, and at the end of the passage was the burly man in black armor. His eyes were still cold, but right now there was an air of seriousness gathering around him. His eyes were cold, but Wang Lin's eyes were even colder. Wang Lin's entire body was like a piece of never-melting ice as he walked step by step toward the burly man in black armor. As he walked by, the black-armored demon soldiers close to him all took a step back, as they felt a suffocating feeling come from the bottom of their hearts. The serious aura around the burly man in black armor became even stronger as he let out a roar and took a step forward. This step caused his aura to immediately rush out. This aura was invisible, but all the surrounding demon soldiers felt it, causing them to involuntarily back up even more. Wang Lin's expression was still cold. He didn't pause the slightest and continued to walk forward step by step. The aura from the burly man in black armor dissipated the moment it landed on Wang Lin's body, and was unable to affect Wang Lin at all. Wang Lin was able to see through the burly man's cultivation at one glance. The burly man's demonic spiritual energy was equal to that of a late-stage soul transformation cultivator that hadn't reached the peak of the late stage yet. Wang Lin's own aura increased like crazy with every step he took. As he walked, frost began to appear on the ground and spread. The burly man in black armor was at a disadvantage when it came to their auras, so a suffocating feeling immediately appeared in his heart. He subconsciously wanted to take a step back, but he immediately forced himself to stop. He knew that if he were to retreat, he would lose his momentum and his enemy might take that chance to immediately attack. But if he didn't back down, that invisible pressure would continue to condense on him like crazy. He had only faced this kind of pressure when facing the demon general. Finally, when Wang Lin was only 20 steps from him, the burly man in black armor, whose forehead was covered in sweat, shouted, "Commander Wang, what do you intend to do?" Wang Lin calmly opened his mouth as he continued to step forward. "This is my military camp. What do you think I intend?" The burly man in black armor immediately felt an enormous pressure on his body, as if there were countless large mountains pressing down on him. He suppressed his urge to back up and shouted, "You have been missing for over a year, and the demon general has long ago stripped you of your rank as commander." 1 year. So it has only been 1 year. Wang Lin's heart felt a hint of relief, but his aura became even stronger. Where are my 2 followers? When Wang Lin entered the army camp, his divine sense spread out and didn't find 13 nor Hu Pao. At this moment, there were only around 10 steps between him and the burly man in black armor. Bursts of powerful aura came crashing down on the burly man like wild beasts. He suppressed his urge to take a step back, because as the chief commander, he couldn't allow a commander to outpressure him, or else his position would no longer be secure, even if this commander's cultivation was more powerful than his. Wang Lin immediately noticed that the burly man was reaching his limit, so he immediately sped up and took 7 steps in a row. The burly man immediately felt Wang Lin's aura increase like crazy in those 7 steps. It felt like countless mountains had just crashed down upon him. He could no longer resist this pressure and involuntarily took a step back. The burly man took 1 step back and his own pressure weakened. In reaction, Wang Lin's pressure immediately skyrocketed and reached a peak. Not good. The burly man's expression changed, and at the same time Wang Lin's eyes became cold. He bolted forward like lightning and charged directly at the burly man in black armor. At this moment, his peak late-stage soul transformation cultivation quickly revealed itself. As the burly man backed up, his hands clenched into a fist and immediately threw a punch, causing a loud rumble, and the sound waves spread forward. At the same time, the demonic spiritual energy in his body surged out and immediately formed a black tortoise about 1,000 feet wide. This black tortoise was covered with countless spikes on its back and tail. As its tail swung around, it felt like it could cause space itself to shatter as black lines appeared in the air. Wang Lin stepped toward him through the air, moving as fast as lightning. His thumb lifted into the air as he used the finger of death. Now that his cultivation had reached the peak of the late stage of soul transformation, the power of his finger of death was several times more powerful. If it wasn't for the fact that the demon soldiers had already backed up, they would have had their flesh and demonic spiritual energy absorbed by the finger of death. Even though they had backed away, some of their demonic spiritual energy was still absorbed by the finger of death. At this moment, waves of demonic spiritual energy gathered on Wang Lin's finger from the heavens and earth. Some of the demon soldiers that weren't familiar with Wang Lin were too close and they felt the blood in their bodies boiling. In the blink of an eye, The blood in their bodies turned into essence and flew out of their bodies. Luckily, their companions quickly pulled those who were frozen in place away, preventing a massacre. The heavens and earth changed colors from Wang Lin's finger of death, and the entire camp was now covered in darkness. The sound wave created from the punch the burly man threw out immediately collapsed. Wang Lin's thumb didn't pause for a moment as it pressed down with his body. At this moment, it was as everything within 1,000 feet had gathered on his finger. As the finger of death descended, the burly man in black armor had the illusion that he was fighting against the heavens. The burly man let out a roar and his body immediately fused with the black tortoise behind him. Now his eyes were filled with a demonic light. At this moment, Wang Lin finally encountered a native using a native demonic spell. At the moment the burly man fused with the black tortoise, it seemed to come to life as it let out a roar and its tail whipped toward Wang Lin. Wang Lin's eyes became cold and his finger of death pressed down on the black tortoise's tail. The tail immediately began to shatter inch by inch, and this began to affect the entire body. The difference between a peak late-stage soul transformation cultivator and a normal late-stage soul transformation cultivator was a huge gap that could not be easily crossed. Not to mention the fact that his spell was very powerful. The finger strength was extremely close to the power of an ascendant cultivator. The black tortoise's body shattered and the burly man's armor cracked into pieces. He coughed out a mouthful of blood before being forced back several steps and kneeling down on one leg. The demonic spells sure have their own extraordinary powers. Wang Lin coldly looked at the burly man. If it had been a cultivator, their cultivation level would have fallen. But this didn't happen to the burly man. Although his injuries looked serious, his foundation wasn't hurt at all. Wang Lin's right hand reached behind him and Sima Yan's body immediately flew toward him and was caught by him. "Where are my followers?" Wang Lin's voice was like the cold winds of winter blowing into Sima Yan's ears. Sima Yan's body trembled. This voice that entered his ears caused his entire body to become cold. "Half a year after you left, the two of them went missing. I don't know where they went." Wang Lin coldly looked at Sima Yan and no longer wasted time with him. His two fingers formed a sword and immediately pointed between Sima Yan's brows. He used the soul search spell once more. Sima Yan's body violently convulsed and blood came out of his orifices. His eyes bulged out like they were ready to explode. Wang Lin's divine sense continued to search through Sima Yan's mind. The memories of the past year continued to appear before Wang Lin. Half a year after he left, 13 and Hu Pao had a dispute. Hu Pao decided to not wait and return to the tribe, while 13 was determined to wait here for Wang Lin. Finally, Hu Pao left, but he wasn't successful in his departure. Sima Yan easily caught Hu Pao and used the excuse of him violating army regulations to waste his cultivation, and threw him into the dark prison. 3 months later, Hu Pao mysteriously disappeared. The dark prison was very well guarded, so even Sima Yan didn't know how Hu Pao went missing. As for 13, he tried to help Hu Pao, but in the end he was not Sima Yan's match. He crushed all of 13's meridians and bones and was about to throw him into the dungeon to die like Hu Pao. However, the chief commander saw it and took 13 away. These various memories appeared inside Wang Lin's eyes. His eyes became even colder as he let out an angry laugh and repeated the word, "Good," 3 times. The coldness in his eyes became even stronger as he looked at Sima Yan's bulging eyes. He activated the celestial slaughter art, and then Sima Yan's body immediately began to wither. After several breaths of time, Sima Yan's body exploded with a bang and pieces of flesh fell all over the surrounding area. Strands of gray gas came out from some of the flesh and gathered between Wang Lin's fingers. The celestial slaughter art was very difficult to use, but this time Wang Lin successfully refined a life seal from Sima Yan in a moment of anger. After killing Sima Yan, Wang Lin looked at the burly man not far away from him. From Sima Yan's memories, it was him who took away 13, who was on the verge of death. Wang Lin took one step and arrived before the burly man. He coldly asked, "Where is 13? The burly man in black armor stared at Wang Lin, then he pondered for a bit and said, "Is the person you are referring to the barbarian Sima Yan wasted half a year ago? If you are looking for him, then asking me is useless." The demon general set out in order to gather people with strong bodies. That barbarian had all his demonic spiritual energy gathered in his flesh, and used a mysterious method to refine his body. I saw that he met the Demon General's requirement, so I healed him and gifted him to the Demon General. Commander Wang, if you have the ability, you don't have show-off here. Do you dare to ask the Lord Demon General yourself? You can rest assured, I won't lie about matters relating to the Demon General. The burly man looked at Wang Lin and sneered. You saved 13 and then gave him to the Demon General. Your actions balanced each other out, so I won't kill you. Wang Lin's expression was gloomy as his body turned into a cloud of smoke that charged into the sky, and then flew directly toward the Demon General's palace. The burly man said that in a moment of desperation, he was defeated by Wang Lin and didn't expect to live, but now he was startled. Raising his head, he looked at the green smoke Wang Lin turned into in the horizon. He hesitated for a bit and said, half a year ago, the Demon General went into closed-door cultivation and closed off all transfer arrays. If you want to enter, the only possible way is to break in. He touched his chest as he walked away. He was heavily injured and needed to return to his palace to recover. As Wang Lin flew through the sky as a cloud of green smoke, he spread out his divine sense and scanned the area. All of the transfer arrays inside ancient Demon City that led to the Demon General's palace were closed. These arrays were closed from the other side and had nothing to do with the transfer arrays themselves. Unless the Demon General opened them from the other side himself, it would be impossible to use them. 13 and Hu Pao were brought here to ancient Demon City by me, meaning I dragged them into this. Wang Lin secretly sighed. Originally, when he left, he didn't expect to fall asleep inside the cave. Due to a series of circumstances, he hurt 13 and Hu Pao. In this world, there are things that happen and things that don't. Cultivators hope for longevity and to escape from fate, to dodge calamities and meet good fate. 13 and Hu Pao aren't close to me, and to break into the Demon General's palace for them means going against the Demon General and the Sky Demon country. I should be wary of danger and stay away from it. None of this seems to be worth it. However, I, Wang Lin, don't want to follow convention and to one day find the Tao of the heavens. I want to live without feeling I have wronged anyone. I'm not a gentleman, a villain, an honest person, or a hypocrite, but there are some things in life that must be done for the sake of it. From this point of view, I'm not suited to be a cultivator. However, there are certain things I have to do. If I don't save 13, what Tao am I chasing? Wang Lin looked up into the sky. His heart was set. There were 6 doors between the military camp and the Demon General's palace. If he couldn't use the transfer array, then he would have to break through them one by one to get inside. The inside and outside of each of the 6 doors are well guarded, and the entire palace was surrounded by a formation that prevented teleportation. Wang Lin appeared outside the 6th door. The door was over 100 feet tall and was connected to the outer wall, which had restrictions constantly flickering along it. The moment Wang Lin appeared, there was a shout from a guard next to the door. Incomer, stop and quickly leave. If you take another step, you will be killed without question. Wang Lin raised his head and his eyes became cold. He took a deep breath, touched his bag of holding, and the celestial sword immediately flew out. The sword circled his body and Su Ligua's roars kept coming out from the sword. The moment the celestial sword appeared, the guards outside the 6th door revealed killing intent in their eyes and stared at Wang Lin. Wang Lin took one step, causing the guards to immediately charge forth. They all launched their demonic spiritual energy to stop Wang Lin. Facing all these demon soldiers, Wang Lin didn't stop and walked forward step by step. The celestial sword sliced through the air around Wang Lin. Anyone that tried to stop Wang Lin had to get past the celestial sword. A series of miserable groans echoed the area as Wang Lin jumped on the celestial sword and charged directly at the door. He hadn't even stabilized himself when a ray of sword energy shot out and landed on the 6th door. Boom! The 6th door shattered and countless fragments were blown back. Right now there were thousands of demon soldiers in the square between the 6th and 5th door. They were immediately forced to back up from the fragments of the 6th door. At the moment the 6th door shattered, Wang Lin walked in. I want to meet the Demon General. Although his voice was calm, there was a sense of majesty that slowly spread out. Kill! Roars filled with killing intent came from the mouths of thousands of demon soldiers. Their order was to kill anyone that dared to break in when the Demon General was in closed-door cultivation. Wang Lin was calm as he faced thousands of demon soldiers, and his eyes became cold. He jumped off the celestial sword. Then his hand formed a seal and he waved it. A strange wind suddenly appeared and formed a tornado in the square. It quickly moved across the square and forcibly created a path through the thousands of demon soldiers. Wang Lin stepped directly past the square and arrived before the fifth door. He didn't stop at all. His hand formed a seal, the celestial spiritual energy in his body activated, and he pressed it on the fifth door. With a bang, the fifth door exploded. The powerful impact caused the shattered pieces of the door to fly out in all directions like a powerful storm. Past the fifth door, tens of thousands of demon soldiers had already learned that someone was trying to break into the demon general's palace and rushed over. At the moment the fifth door collapsed, more than 10,000 demon soldiers let out roars, and at the same time, their demonic spiritual energy unified in a mysterious way, creating a very oppressive mass of demonic spiritual energy. At the moment the fifth door shattered, this demonic spiritual energy shot out like crazy. Even with Wang Lin's cultivation, he had to back up a few steps to avoid it. At the same time, he touched his bag of holding and the 3 nameless sword sheaths from planet Suzaku flew out. Shortly after, 3 rays of sword energy flew out from the sword sheaths like 3 angry dragons and collided with the demonic spiritual energy. A series of explosions echoed throughout the area, making it feel like the entire ground was trembling. Wang Lin's body moved like lightning through the door with the celestial sword before him to make way. The tens of thousands of demon soldiers formed a wall of demonic spiritual energy to prevent Wang Lin from going farther. Wang Lin's eyes lit up and he took out the restriction flag. With one shake, countless restrictions flew out like black dragons and circled around him. Borrowing the sword energy from the sword sheaths, the sword energy from the celestial sword, and the black restriction gas from the restriction flag, Wang Lin broke through all obstacles and continued forward. At this moment, the thousands of demon soldiers from the fifth door rushed in from behind him and surrounded Wang Lin. Lord Demon General, Wang Lin requests an audience. Wang Lin's voice slowly spread out. He believed that even if the Demon General was in closed-door cultivation, he would still be able to hear him. But as time passed, the Demon General didn't show any reaction. At this moment, Wang Lin was surrounded on all sides by demon soldiers. So far he tried not to kill, but now he was forced to kill. Facing a siege, Wang Lin raised his thumb and the finger of death showed its full power. The sky and earth changed colors, and every demon soldier within 1,000 feet trembled before their bodies withered. All of the flesh, blood, and demonic spiritual energy were sucked into Wang Lin's thumb. Wang Lin's body moved like lightning toward the fourth door. At this moment there was no one who could make him pause for even half a second. In an instant his thumb landed on the fourth gate. The fourth door collapsed with a bang, and at this moment, an old figure stepped out from behind it. Powerful demonic spiritual energy came from this old figure. This demonic spiritual energy turned into a giant python and attempted to devour Wang Lin. At the same time an old voice shouted, "Back down!" Wang Lin's thumb touched the python made of demonic spiritual energy. At this moment Wang Lin was forced back one step, but the python let out a miserable cry and its body collapsed inch by inch. After the python collapsed, the old figure trembled, let out a groan, and his body was forced back several steps before he stabilized himself. Wang Lin took a step and directly walked past the fourth gate. Aside from the countless demon soldiers before him, there was also a white-haired old man. Wang Lin wasn't unfamiliar with this old man. He was the same person that came to the military camp with the steward over a year ago. The old man's face was completely pale and revealed a look of disbelief. He had seen Wang Lin more than a year ago, and back then their cultivation levels were roughly the same. However, when they met again today, Wang Lin's cultivation level had increased by a huge amount. If it wasn't for the fact that he was borrowing the power of the demon soldiers, had opened all the seals in his body, and basically launched a sneak attack, Wang Lin wouldn't have even been forced back a single step. Wang Lin stepped into the area and used the power of the finger of death once more. The old man let out a roar as all the demonic spiritual energy in his body surged to summon another giant python. His body fused with the giant python, then it attempted to devour Wang Lin once more. Since Lord Demon General won't meet me, don't blame me for slaughtering my way through. Wang Lin's eyes became cold as the gray slaughter gas appeared between his fingers and quickly spread out. His eyes suddenly started glowing red. They contained a monstrous amount of killing intent. At this moment, Wang Lin used the celestial slaughter art without any restraint. The slaughter aura covered the heavens and earth. Wang Lin didn't fight the python but jumped into the demon soldiers. Every time he moved his hand, a spell came out and demon soldiers died. Including all the demon soldiers from the 5th and 6th doors, tens of thousands of demon soldiers surrounded Wang Lin. Their demonic spiritual energy worked together to create formations. Once these formations were complete, they would immediately condense into either demonic beasts or demonic gas. There were series of explosions and collisions as the formations continued to attack Wang Lin. Facing these demon soldiers, Wang Lin understood that one person didn't have enough power to defy the heavens. Unless one's cultivation was heavenly, it would be very difficult to break out from these formations formed by tens of thousands of demon soldiers. He could kill one person, 10, 100, 1,000, or 10,000 people. But once he was finished killing, all his celestial spiritual energy would be exhausted. Wang Lin's magical treasures, celestial sword, half-moon blade, restriction flag, and sword sheaths were controlled by his divine sense to begin an endless slaughter. Compared to these magic treasures, the celestial slaughter art had the biggest advantage. Every time the celestial slaughter art killed someone, it would gain a bit of strength. Although maybe only 1 out of every 100 would condense gray gas, as more and more people were killed, the gap was narrowing. Wang Lin's eyes were filled with killing intent as he used various spells. However, there were too many demonic soldiers around him, and when their demonic spiritual energy merged, they could activate extremely powerful attacks. So even with Wang Lin's peak late-stage soul transformation cultivation, his celestial spiritual energy was being used up at a very quick pace. Wang Lin slapped his bag of holding and a large amount of celestial jades flew out and started circling him. He quickly sucked all of the celestial jades dry to recover the celestial spiritual energy in his body, and this cycle continued, causing him to use a large amount of celestial spiritual energy. Demonic Finger. Wang Lin didn't activate the demonic ideal but used his peak late-stage soul transformation cultivation to activate the second killing spell. The demonic spiritual energy in the air was quickly pushed away by the energy from the demonic finger. Wang Lin's finger pressed down like the god of death, and the demonic spiritual energy from his finger drilled into the demon soldiers, causing their bodies to explode. Bursts of blood-colored light covered the heavens and earth. Wang Lin rushed forward and carved a path through tens of thousands of demon soldiers and charged directly at the third gate. With one finger, the flesh and blood on the ground gathered to form a dragon made of blood. The dragon rushed toward where the demonic finger was pointing. The old man inside the python wanted to stop the blood dragon, but at this moment, his body suddenly exploded. He died to the demonic finger. The blood dragon created by the demonic finger landed on the third door. After a series of loud rumbles, the third door collapsed. As the door collapsed, tens of thousands of demon soldiers charged out from the third gate. Along with them were 6 white-haired old men. The moment they appeared, they locked onto Wang Lin. Wang Lin let out a sigh. This was his limit with his cultivation. None of the 5 elders that came out were weaker than late-stage soul transformation cultivators. Adding on the tens of thousands of demon soldiers around him, Wang Lin knew that he had to use his final move if he wished to break through the second door. The ace-killing spell Situnan taught him. The most powerful killing spell that has heaven-shattering power infinitely close to a low-quality celestial spell. The third killing spell. The demon spirit land being all about military power is indeed true. If I had hundreds of thousands of demon soldiers at the core formation stage, then even an ascendant cultivator would lose. If I had millions of core formation demon soldiers, some commanders, and a general at the cultivation level of the chief commander, I could even battle against a late-stage ascendant cultivator. It would be the same if I had the power of a demon emperor with tens of millions of demon soldiers, some demon generals, and a few commanders. I wouldn't even be afraid of those that have stepped into the yin and yang stage. Wang Lin let out a sigh as he faced the tens of thousands of demon soldiers and the 5 elders equal to late-stage soul transformation cultivators. He then raised his right pinky and slowly drew a circle. Underworld. Wang Lin softly said one word. The underworld finger, the killing spell of the 3 killing spells, was something infinitely close to a low-quality celestial spell. Even Situnan was very hesitant in teaching this to Wang Lin. With one finger, the sky suddenly darkened and lightning struck down. At the same time, the sky seemed to be opened by a giant pair of hands as a giant mountain and river painting appeared, covering the horizon. This underworld finger activated Wang Lin's domain. Countless strands of gray gas flew out from the scroll and condensed at an unimaginable speed into a second underworld finger. Wang Lin's hair moved without any wind, his eyes were filled with killing intent, and gray gas surrounded his body. He was connecting with the second underworld finger that was created from the life and death scroll. With one finger, the tens of thousands of demon soldiers surrounding Wang Lin all trembled as strands of gray gas came out from the tops of their heads infused with the underworld finger from the life and death scroll. At the same time, Wang Lin rose into the air and fused together with that underworld finger. At this moment, the only thing left was that finger. A finger pointed at the underworld. After fusing with the underworld finger, Wang Lin suddenly charged out toward the second gate. Those 5 old men who had cultivation levels equal to late-stage soul transformation cultivators were shocked by the power of the underworld finger, but they clenched their teeth and activated the demonic spiritual energy in their bodies to block Wang Lin. However, they underestimated the power of the underworld finger. Back when Wang Lin was at the mid-stage of soul transformation, he was able to fight against Sun Tao, who was at the mid-stage of Ascendant. Although he lost in the end, he gave Sun Tao a big shock. At this moment, Wang Lin's cultivation was at the peak of the late stage of soul transformation, so the underworld finger was enough to threaten Ascendant cultivators. This was Wang Lin's true ace. With one finger, the 5 elders all coughed out blood. The 5 of them involuntarily backed up and weren't able to stop Wang Lin even half a step. Before Wang Lin even closed in, the second door was destroyed by the pressure of his underworld finger. There were no demon soldiers behind the second door, only one person. This person was very small, but he had eyes like lightning. At the moment the second door collapsed and Wang Lin's underworld finger closed in, he let out a roar. His hand formed seals like a cultivator, and the seals stacked up and then he pushed them forward. There was a sound like a storm sweeping past the area as Wang Lin's underworld finger stopped 3 inches from his hand. A small ball formed between Wang Lin's underworld finger and this person's hand. This ball was completely white with black lightning moving within it. The small person withstood for 3 breaths of time before being forced back and leaving 2 deep marks on the ground. He didn't move back by choice but was pushed back by Wang Lin's underworld finger. He had to back up because if he continued to resist, he knew he wouldn't be able to withstand it. If he tried to block it by force, the only result would be his body exploding. He was pushed back more than 100 feet before he let out a roar and stopped himself. The underworld finger from Wang Lin was 3 inches away from him and continued to suck away at his vitality like a vortex. Commander Wang. I'm the #1 chief commander under the Demon General. What exactly do you want? I want to meet the Demon General. Just as he finished speaking, a large amount of gray gas came out from the tens of thousands of demon soldiers behind him. The gray gas came from all directions and quickly entered his body. This was the power of the underworld finger. Large amounts of gray gas entered his body. Wang Lin knew in his heart that each strand was a life. With the gray gas inside his body, the power of the underworld finger reached its peak. The small person immediately felt the peak power of the underworld RLD finger. His expression changed greatly as he continued to back up. This time he was pushed back to the first door. And with a loud bang, the first door collapsed. At the same time, the small person coughed out a mouthful of blood and was thrown aside. At this moment, a tall figure came out of the first door. He didn't talk at all and directly threw a punch at Wang Lin's underworld finger. In that instant, Wang Lin clearly felt the battle intent inside the punch. 10 collapse fist intent. The fist intent came crashing down like a flood. The first collapse, second collapse, third collapse. In the blink of an eye, all 10 collapses of fist intent surged forth, one stronger than the last. 7th collapse, 8th collapse, 9th collapse. The endless amount of fist intent seemed to be fused with the heavens and earth as it came crashing down. The gray gas thickened, and the killing intent in Wang Lin's eyes reached a monstrous level. The 10th collapse. There was a loud bang. Then ripples appeared on the ground between Wang Lin and the figure and quickly spread out in all directions. It turned into something like a wave on the ocean and spread out for more than 5 kilometers. Wang Lin immediately felt an unimaginable force coming at him. A series of cracking sounds came from the pinky with the underworld finger, and the force spread across his body. Wang Lin's body was pushed back by this force and 2 skid marks was created by him. He was forced back 30 feet before he took a step back and stopped himself. As the shockwave spread out, Those demon soldiers that had their lives taken by the underworld finger turned to dust. In addition to all of this, every building within 5 kilometers collapsed. The collapsing bodies and buildings created an air blast that spread out very far. Only those several people that had cultivation equal to that of soul transformation cultivators or higher were able to survive in this storm. At the same time, the slaughter gas formed from the celestial slaughter art flew toward Wang Lin from all the pieces of scattered flesh. What a powerful spell! A low voice came from before Wang Lin. After the dust settled, the demon general's large figure was revealed. After he finished speaking, his body wobbled as he forced himself from being knocked backwards. The demonic spiritual energy inside his body moved like crazy to stop himself from being sent flying back. His eyes were like lightning as he stepped forward and crossed 30 feet in an instant. Then his palm reached out and hit the ground. This palm created a gust of wind, and the area within 5 kilometers seemed to have become an ocean. The entire sea let out a roar from the demon general's palm and charged toward Wang Lin like crazy. Withstand my 100-wave demon sea, and then you are qualified to talk with me. Wang Lin's body backed up, and he immediately felt the change in demonic spiritual energy around him. Demonic spiritual energy was normally incorporeal, but this spell seemed to turn it into a real ocean. That palm caused the ocean to surge and crash down upon Wang Lin. Compared to the 10 collapses, this 100-wave demon sea was even more powerful. The intent contained inside it was even stronger than the fist intent in the 10th collapse punch. Facing the sea of demonic spiritual energy, Wang Lin suddenly had an idea flash into his mind. Back on planet Suzaku, there was a rumor that a powerful cultivator used a spell to make the sea into a mist, thus creating the Sea of Devils' unique appearance. When Wang Lin heard of it back then, although he was shocked, he more or less didn't believe it. However, today he personally saw the demon general turn the invisible demonic spiritual energy into a visible sea. Although this shocked him, it mostly made him think very deeply about this matter. As the demon sea surged, waves began to stack up on top of each other until there were 30 of them, and Wang Lin was focused on continuing to back up. Backing up didn't mean he had failed, it was him buying time to think of a way to break it. The 30 waves of the demon sea stacked together and chased after Wang Lin. Wang Lin's hands moved quickly, creating restrictions to prevent the waves from closing in. However, these restrictions were like thin paper before the waves. They quickly shattered and dissipated into specks of black light. As the waves became more fierce, Wang Lin's eyes lit up. He was about to take out some blood jades from Yao Shishue's back to help him resist when the golden symbol he absorbed from the second statue suddenly appeared in his head. This symbol suddenly imprinted in his mind. But Wang Lin ignored it and took out a large amount of blood jades. He crushed them and waves of blood light filled the area. This blood-colored light covered Wang Lin's entire body. At this moment, the 30 waves arrived and landed on the blood-colored light. There was a series of rumbles like angry waves hitting on a rock. The blood-colored light lasted for several breaths of time before immediately collapsing, and the waves closed in. As the waves closed in, the golden symbol in Wang Lin's mind became even clearer and more profound. Wang Lin's eyes lit up. Having reached his current cultivation level meant that his entire body had been tempered by celestial spiritual energy, and he had full mastery over his mind, so random things shouldn't appear in his mind during battle. But at this moment, the golden symbol flashed violently in his mind. It seemed ready to break free and fly out from Wang Lin's mind. With the interference of the golden symbol, he couldn't think clearly. Even the movement of celestial spiritual energy inside his body was affected by the flashing, golden symbol. Wang Lin's eyes lit up. Wind does not come from an empty cave for no reason, and the symbol might not have appeared in his head for no reason. He decided to open his mind and his hand sent out a restriction. The gray gas gathered before his body and his right finger quickly swiped across it. With one stroke, the gray gas twisted and formed a symbol. After drawing the symbol, Wang Lin felt his mind become extremely clear, and he had the urge to release the power inside him. The moment the symbol appeared, the demon general's eyes narrowed. From his view, this symbol had no power, but if Wang Lin was using it at this critical moment, it couldn't be normal. Wang Lin's finger didn't stop. It moved once more over the symbol. With another stroke, he created a 2-stroke symbol. The demon general's eyes became even more serious. When that symbol formed, he immediately felt like he was facing the heavens. Wang Lin's finger moved once more and the three-stroke symbol was created. At this moment, the golden symbol in his mind melted into a golden force that fused with the three-stroke golden symbol. Just at this moment, a powerful force came from the symbol. This force was extremely powerful, and it caused the demon general's heart to tighten. He quickly increased the 30 waves into 60 waves and sent them forward. After a series of rumbles, the symbol met the 30 waves, causing the waves to collapse, but the symbol dimmed after doing so. The golden symbol then collided with the next 30 waves, and they canceled each other out. But just at this moment, 3 strands of gray gas appeared where the symbol disappeared. They pierced through the demon sea and charged directly at the demon general. The demon general's eyes narrowed and he shouted, "Armor activate!" With one word, a curtain of demonic spiritual energy suddenly appeared 7 feet before him. The 3 strands of gray gas collided with the curtain and shook violently before being bounced back. Now they were slightly dimmer than before. The demon general's eyes lit up. Then he laughed and took a step forward. What a powerful symbol spell! Wang Lin, I have indeed underestimated you. However, it seems the symbol has a lot more to it. How about you display it all and have a battle with me? Wang Lin coldly asked. Where is 13? We'll talk after we finish fighting. The demon general laughed and his eyes lit up like a torch. Wang Lin's eyes lit up as he backed up several steps and said, Once I use my final ace, you will die for sure. Oh? Then show it to me. If it can really kill me, I'll be satisfied. The demon general's eyes lit up as he created another 40 waves that crashed toward Wang Lin. If I were to kill you, I would have no way to stay in this sky demon country. Watch carefully. You will know yourself if you can withstand this blow. Wang Lin didn't try to take on the 40 waves. Instead, he flew hundreds of feet into the air and suddenly looked down. The demon general's eyes revealed a mysterious light, and with a thought, the 40 waves returned to him. Right now the 40 waves moved around him like 40 dragons, and the current him was like a demonic sea god. Wang Lin floated in the air and closed his eyes. The demon general was far stronger than he thought. The 10 collapse punch was only one of the demon general's spells. This 100-wave demon sea should be his true killing move. As for whether the demon general had any more hidden abilities, although Wang Lin was curious, he didn't want to find out. Although this person's cultivation was only at the peak of the late stage of soul transformation like Wang Lin's, his spells were far more powerful than Wang Lin's. Wang Lin had to admit that he was lacking in terms of spells. Even when using his treasures, he wasn't confident that he could win. This was the first time in hundreds of years that Wang Lin had faced someone who had the same cultivation level as him. And not only was he not confident that he could win, if he was just a bit careless, he would lose. Right now he was also inside the demon general's city. His goal was to save 13, and if he suffered any injuries, the chance of the rescuing 13 would disappear. After Wang Lin learned he couldn't win, he had the idea of a trick. He floated in the air with his eyes closed and recalled the giant handprint he saw in the celestial realm. Back then, he spent a lot time next to it to learn from it, and then later he used it against Red Butterfly. However, that palm only had the shape and no power behind it. However, this spell was something no one could see through. After all, the moment it appears, its pressure is already at an unimaginable degree. That giant handprint slowly condensed in his mind, and his mentality changed to the way it was back when he was comprehending it. At this moment, his eyes suddenly opened up, and they showed an inexplicable color. With one gaze, he looked down on the ground and felt like he was looking over the entire world. As for the demon general, he now looked like an ant. When the demon general saw this gaze, his heart shook violently for the first time. This gaze is something I only feel when I look at the ancient demon in the temple. It is something not even the demon emperor possesses. The demon general's body trembled, and the waves around him began to rotate out of control. Wang Lin reached out with his right hand and pressed down. This palm caused the sky to darken, and various mysterious forces gathered below Wang Lin and formed an incredibly large palm print. Then he pressed down his palm. The demon general's body shook violently and the waves around him began to surge like crazy. At this moment, everything before him was replaced by that giant palm print. The moment the palm print appeared, it fell from the sky. A feeling that he couldn't defeat it couldn't resist it, and couldn't even dodge it appeared in his heart. It was as if this palm was the heavens and earth. This palm could destroy the world, and this palm could destroy all life. This feeling enveloped his heart, and his body trembled involuntarily. Although this palm had not yet fallen, the pressure it gave off destroyed his will to battle. The demon general struggled to let out a roar, and an unyielding feeling appeared in his heart. As he stared at the rapidly descending palm, battle intent erupted from inside him. Even if you are the heavens, I have to fight. Even if you can destroy the world, I must fight. Even if you can destroy all life, you can't destroy the will to fight in my heart. His body suddenly stood straight and he let out an unyielding roar. The waves around the demon general turned into countless sea dragons that charged at the sky. When the palm print landed, the demon general's battle intent reached its peak, but at this moment, a gentle breeze swept by him. The palm landed on the demon general and caused no change. The demon general was startled. This expression hadn't appeared on his face in a long time. What followed after was the uncontrollable, lingering sense of fear that one gets after walking by death's door. You are already dead. Wang Lin landed from the air and looked at the demon general. The demon general's expression was complex as he looked at Wang Lin with doubt in his heart. "What spell is this?" he asked. Wang Lin's expression was neutral as he calmly said, "This spell has no name." The demon general pondered for a bit, and then the waves around his body quickly disappeared. He looked at Wang Lin and said, "You haven't fully learned this spell." Wang Lin's expression didn't change and he only said one thing. "You can try again." The demon general was very uncertain. Although he suspected that Wang Lin could only perform the illusion of the attack without any real power behind it, it was only his suspicion. Even if he was 90% confident, just remembering the life and death feeling he had, he wasn't willing to risk it. Even thinking about that palm caused his heart to tremble. The demon general pondered for a long time before saying, "This is your ace." Wang Lin didn't explain. He knew that the more he explained, the more openings he would show. He knew that the spell was only an illusion and that anyone would be suspicious. However, suspicion will remain suspicion. It was something the demon general couldn't confirm. That's why he didn't speak and only calmly looked at the demon general. The demon general let out a sigh. He still didn't have the courage to risk that 90% doubt against that 10% truth. If it turned out to be real, he could die. It could be that even with his cultivation, if he were to use the spell's true power, he would suffer great backlash, maybe even to the point where his body can't stand it and will collapse, so he only used an illusion. This was the only explanation that the demon general was willing to believe. His suspicion was still there, but it was forcibly suppressed by him. Wang Lin calmly asked, "Where is 13? I'm refining a magical treasure that requires 18 people with strong bodies. I went into closed-door cultivation this time to refine the treasure. Your follower 13 is later in line, so he hasn't been refined yet." Then the demon general slowly said, "I can give him back to you because you are my commander, but you killed tens of thousands of demon soldiers and destroyed 5 kilometers of the city. This matter I can't let go so easily." Wang Lin's expression didn't change at all and he said, "What do you want?" The demon general slowly said, "In 3 months, I need to return to the capital of the Sky Demon country for a debriefing. During that time, there will be a competition between the demon generals. If you promise to help me, I'll forget about the matter of you killing my demon soldiers. Otherwise, even if I die, you won't be able to gain a foothold in this country." At this moment, he considered Wang Lin his equal. Not counting that illusionary palm, just the fact that Wang Lin could break his 10-collapse punch and withstand the 100-wave demon sea caused Wang Lin standing in the demon general's mind to skyrocket. This person has the same cultivation level as me. If it wasn't for the fact that his spells can't compare to mine, this would be a difficult fight. Thinking about spells, he suddenly remembered that palm, and the idea that Wang Lin's spells weren't a match for his completely disappeared. Compared to that palm, my spells are nothing. I'm afraid only the demon emperor can match that spell. The demon general sighed. Wang Lin pondered a bit and nodded. The demon general let out a laugh. This laugh washed away all the unpleasantness from before. He smiled and said, "Good. From today onward, I, Left Wing General Mo Lehigh, name you as my only vice general. If I can place in the top 3 among the demon generals, I'll ask the demon emperor to make you a general. At that time you will have your own city and 100,000 demon soldiers at your command. You will definitely have a bigger advantage than a majority of the foreigners." With that, his right hand reached out and created a black vortex. There were specks of light inside the vortex. The demon general casually pointed at one of the specks, causing it to collapse. Then 13's body flew out and landed before Wang Lin. His remark just now was to appease Wang Lin, and use the position of general to make Wang Lin try his hardest. At the same time, he didn't use 13 to threaten him. This showed that he was treating Wang Lin with sincerity. However, this was only because he saw Wang Lin's strength. Feeling the power of that palm was what made him give Wang Lin such treatment. Although he suspected that palm, in the end it was only suspicion, and as long as he could never confirm it, he wouldn't risk it. The more intelligent someone is, the more likely they are to think this way. Although the demon general had an open personality, having reached this level of cultivation meant that he wasn't dumb. In fact, he wouldn't lose to Wang Lin in cleverness. "I'll return in 3 months." Wang Lin's divine sense swept past 13. He found that 13 had no injuries and was only in a coma. He grabbed 13, took a step into the air, and disappeared over the horizon. The demon general had his hand behind his back as he looked into the sky and shook his head. The 5 people who were equal to late-stage soul transformation cultivators rushed in. When the 5 of them watched the fight earlier, their hearts were completely absorbed in it, and they weren't able to pull themselves out for a long time. The 5 of them only recovered now that Wang Lin had left. One of the 5 said, "Demon General, I believe that his palm strike is fake. If you were to act, you could definitely kill him. Even though I know that there is a 90% chance that that palm is a bluff, I can't bring myself to risk it. Even if he only knows how to use an illusion, to make me hesitate so much means that he is indeed clever. To make it so what's real looks fake and what's fake looks real, this person can't be underestimated." Also, 1 year ago, against my 10 collapse punch, he had to use a secret technique to withstand up to 7 collapses. Now, 1 year later, his cultivation has increased exponentially. He and Commander Yao disappeared around the same time, yet only he came back, so there's something hidden there. But it has nothing to do with me. The demon general's words were directed at the 5 of them, but he was mostly muttering to himself. The 5 of them silently pondered as they all raised their heads to look at where Wang Lin went to. A very complex feeling involuntarily appeared in their hearts. Wang Lin floated in the air and spread out his divine sense. He found the dark prison inside the city and appeared before it with the unconscious 13. This dark prison was underground. Although there were restrictions placed all over the area, none of them besides the ones in the depths of the prison could stop Wang Lin. With Hu Pao's status, he couldn't have been locked away in the deeper part of the prison. Wang Lin spread out his divine sense but was unable to find any trace of Hu Pao. He let out a sigh and then disappeared without a trace. Wang Lin moved extremely fast. Now that his cultivation had reached the peak of the late stage of soul transformation, his speed was several times faster than before. Even though he was carrying 13, it didn't take long for him to return to the soul refining tribe. Wang Lin appeared in a flash of light dozens of kilometers away from the soul refining tribe. Before him, he could see the soul refining tribe not far off. Although the soul refining tribe didn't expand during this year, all of the members had been working hard on their cultivation. This 10-kilometer area was all under the control of the soul refining tribe. There was a thick black fog in the sky above this 10-kilometer area. Sometimes soul fragments moved within this black fog, and sometimes ghostly wails slowly echoed inside it. The people inside the soul refining tribe had gotten accustomed to the ghostly wails from the black fog. The louder the wails, the more soul fragments were inside. A majority of the people inside the soul refining tribe were cultivating right now. They all had their souls out as soul fragments flew out of the soul flags and into the black fog. At the same time, soul fragments returned from the black fog and went back inside the soul flags. After Wang Lin appeared, he took one step and charged toward the soul refining tribe like a bolt of lightning. He let out a smile, as he had already noticed more than 10 people at 10 different locations carefully observing the area. He was very familiar with these people. Their duty was to stand guard outside. Wang Lin's divine sense spread out, and within 50 kilometers, there were more than 100 people on guard. It didn't take long for Wang Lin to arrive about 1,000 feet away from the tribe. This was where he stopped. After he stopped, a powerful gust of wind followed him and blew toward the tribe. The moment he stopped, someone immediately saw Wang Lin. After a moment of shock, their eyes were filled with excitement. Ancestor! A shout filled with joy quickly awakened everyone from their cultivation. In almost an instant, all of the tribe members stood up. Donghua turned into a cloud of black mist as he charged through the tribe. He stopped about 10 feet before Wang Lin with a face full of excitement and respectfully said, "Welcome back, Ancestor." At the same time, all of the tribe members knelt down on one knee and said in a chorus, "Welcome back, Ancestor." The Central Valley of the Soul Refining Tribe was an area that belonged solely to Wang Lin. Right now he was sitting inside the valley with 13 down on one knee before him. 13's eyes were filled with excitement. It has already been 3 days since Wang Lin returned to the tribe, and 13 had been awakened by him with a spell. After awakening, 13 immediately saw Wang Lin, and his heart was immediately filled with excitement. Wang Lin learned from 13 roughly what happened during this year of time. After talking about Hu Pao, Wang Lin let out a sigh. Hu Pao disappearing from the dark prison was very strange. With his peak late-stage soul transformation divine sense, he swept the whole city and didn't find a trace of Hu Pao. Hu Pao cultivated the soul refining technique that Wang Lin taught him. So in the end, the final control of the soul fragments belonged to Wang Lin. However, Wang Lin couldn't find a trace of the soul fragments refined by Hu Pao. If Hu Pao didn't die, then he must be in some mysterious place. There is no other reason why I can't find him. Wang Lin pondered for a bit before giving up on this matter regarding Hu Pao. He had already done his best. He raised his head to look at 13. One of the reasons he had brought Hu Pao and 13 to Ancient Demon City was to test them. If the two passed his test, he would teach them new techniques. For Hu Pao, aside from soul refining, there was also soul extraction. However, this soul extraction spell required much more effort than soul refining. Although Wang Lin had modified it, he wouldn't casually teach it. As for 13, the original idea of giving 13 the ancient god tactic was immediately discarded. The ancient god tactic was something he could never teach. However, during this year, 13 had passed Wang Lin's test with flying colors. Wang Lin could feel that 13 would be completely loyal to him for at least several decades. On planet Suzaku, Wang Lin had a lot of interactions with the giant demon clan. When he killed the giant demon clan ancestor, he also obtained the giant demon clan ancestor's bag of holding. Aside from that drop of ancient god blood, there were also some jades in there. Among these jades there was a record of a body cultivation method called the 9 cultivations of the Titan. Back then, Wang Lin only quickly looked at it and forgot about it. Now he looked at 13 as he touched his bag of holding and a cyan jade appeared in his hand. Wang Lin scanned it with his divine sense and thought, "This is it." The 9 cultivations of the Titan had a total of 9 levels, and was a body refining technique. After memorizing all 9 chants, he wiped out the last 3 levels and threw it to 13. 13 caught the jade with excitement. His gratitude toward Wang Lin was already indescribable. He knelt down on the ground, kowtowed a few times and said, "Ancestor, 13 will only listen to you for the rest of his life. Guard the soul refining tribe well. Now go." Wang Lin waved his right hand and a gentle breeze sent 13 out of the valley. Wang Lin sat by himself inside the valley. The sky was covered by the black fog. This black fog was formed by the 1 billion soul flag, and using it to nurture soul fragments had the best effect. I felt safe leaving the flag here when I was at Ancient Demon City. However, the capital is too far away, so I can't leave the flag here. Wang Lin looked up at the black fog in the sky before closing his eyes and beginning to cultivate. At this moment, far to the west of the soul refining sect, almost halfway across the sky demon country, there was an endless desert. This place was known as a very fierce place in the demon spirit land. Rumor has it that countless years ago, this was an ancient battleground of the demon spirit land. Millions of kilometers of land were covered in corpses, and the ground was dyed dark red. Just one glance was enough to shock anyone's heart. Outside this ancient battleground there was an invisible restriction that cut off everything from the outside world. At this moment there was a young man sitting in this ancient battleground. Before him were more than 100 small flags. These flags moved without any wind and slowly circled around him. A strand of black mist surrounded his body, and the presence of this black mist caused the large amount of souls that were sleeping here to awaken. Every time a soul fragment awakened, a violent strand of black gas would charge out from the ground. It would spin with the black mist for a few laps before going inside one of the small flags. There was a black-robed old man 1,000 feet away from the young man. This person coldly looked at the young man, and after one incense stick of time he said, "Okay, finish up." The young man nodded. Then his hand formed a seal and all the small flags released a black glow and landed in his hand. At this moment the young man opened his eyes. The moment he saw the old man, he immediately stood up and respectfully said, "Hu Pao greets benefactor." The old man nodded and said, "Very good. When the time comes that you can refine all the soul fragments in this ancient battleground with your soul refining skill, there is nowhere you won't be able to go in the demon spirit land." Hu Pao's face was filled with excitement as he said, "This is all because of benefactor. You saved my life, taught me spells, and brought me here to refine soul fragments. Hu Pao will forever remember those things." The old man's expression was still cold as he said, "If it wasn't for the fact that your spell is strange and is something I have never seen before, I wouldn't have saved you. In addition, your previous master returned to ancient demon city, fought with the demon general and saved 13. I was one step too late." Hu Pao revealed a complex expression and said, "If I can refine all the soul fragments here, the first thing I'll do is kill this Wang Lin." The old man looked at Hu Pao and said, "He did, after all, teach you the soul refining spell. Why do you insist on killing this person?" Hu Pao pondered a bit before he sneered. "Although he taught me the soul refining spell, he had ulterior motives. If not for Wang Lin angering Sima Yan, I wouldn't have been thrown into the dark prison. In the first few months in the dark prison, I had hopes for Wang Lin to come to save me, but as time passed by, that hope was destroyed. When I was being tortured, where was he? When I was being abused, where was he? In the end, all of my expectations for him to save me turned to hate. If it wasn't for him, how would have ended up like this? Luckily, benefactor rescued me, and on that day when I woke up, I swore I would never be a slave again." The old man's cold face gradually revealed a hint of a smile as he said, "Good. To have such decisive thinking. No wonder you are someone who caught my attention." Then the old man turned around, took one step, and disappeared without a trace. Hu Pao clenched his fist as he looked into the distance and muttered to himself, 13 is too simple and is being cheated by Wang Lin. During those months in the dark prison, I realized that Wang Lin considers me and 13 disposable pawns. Wang Lin, one day when I use my soul flags and release tens of millions of soul fragments, I want to see your expression. I want to see how you will resist my tens of millions of soul fragments. Once I cultivate the world-destroying suppression method to the 4th level, I will have endless demonic spiritual energy. Wang Lin, Sima Yan, just you two wait." Hu Pao's eyes revealed thick killing intent. There was a pitch-black tower in the depths of this ancient battleground. This tower was dozens of feet tall, and there were rings of light around it. These rings seemed to be able to absorb all the light coming at it. From a distance, the tower seemed to have an air of majesty around it. The black-robed man's figure appeared outside the tower. He took a deep breath and stepped into the tower. At the top of the tower, he knelt down on both knees. Before him was a set of armor. This armor looked very old and was definitely not something from this era. If someone with discerning eyes were to see this, they would immediately recognize that this armor had some extraordinary history behind it. It was still fairly intact and was completely black. There were countless patterns engraved on it, and they were all clouds. These clouds were completely black, which gave off a strange feeling. From a distance, this set of armor looked like a person sitting cross-legged in the room and gave of an irresistible sense of majesty. Waves of black gas came out from the armor and filled the tower. 2 ghostly lights suddenly appeared inside the helmet like a pair of eyes, and its gaze fell on the old man. At this moment, the world outside trembled slightly as if a celestial spirit had descended. The old man took a deep breath and said, "Your subordinate has checked and found out that the demon emperor of the sky demon country, Scorpio, should have already made the last step 1,000 years ago. but he is forcibly suppressing it. The ghostly light inside the helmet flashed and an invisible chill came out from the armor. The old man's body and mind trembled and cold sweat appeared on his forehead. After a long time, the ghostly light landed on the old man's eyes as if sending a message. After a few breaths of time, the ghostly light dissipated and the armor returned to normal. The mysterious aura around the armor disappeared too. The old man's entire body was covered in sweat as he said, "Yes." After that, he stood up and respectfully left the highest floor of the tower. Then he returned to the first floor and sat down in the lotus position. This time he was clearly more relaxed. If this child, Hu Pao, can absorb a lot of soul fragments, then combining the mysterious nature of the soul refining technique and my alchemy skill, his cultivation can increase rapidly in a short period of time. Then I'll let him cultivate Master's momentary art, to condense all his longevity and potential into just 1 hour of power, so he can become one of the demon guardians. This soul refining spell is very mysterious, but I feel like there is some flaw hidden within it. However, Master can't be awake for too long, so I can't waste his time on this small matter. If not for the fact that Hu Pao knows this mysterious soul refining spell, with his qualification and status, he wouldn't be qualified to become a demon guardian. If this experiment is successful, I'll have to go check out that soul refining tribe. Inside the inner valley of the soul refining tribe, Wang Lin touched his bag of holding and a ball of restrictions suddenly flew out. He sent out a seal at the ball of restrictions and then it suddenly enlarged and opened like a flower blooming. Inside, Yao Shishua was sitting in the lotus position and her face was deathly pale. The life seal placed on her forehead continued to flash. Every time it flashed, it would send a bit of life force into her body to prevent her from dying. Yao Shishua opened her eyes and gave Wang Lin a vicious stare. Her hatred for Wang Lin was endless. Wang Lin completely ignored Yao Shishua's gaze as he calmly said, "Fellow cultivator Yao, have you considered my proposal from last time?" Yao Shishua clenched her teeth. She couldn't feel the passage of time inside this restriction, which made a feeling of helplessness arise in her heart. Although it has only been a bit over a year on the outside, for her, it felt like an eternity. Wang Lin looked at Yao Shishua and softly said, "My patience has its limits, so I'll only give you 3 chances. This time you can choose not to answer again, but next time will be the 3rd time. If you still don't wish to answer, then we will never meet again. Are you not afraid of my father hunting you down?" Yao Shishua clenched her first. Wang Lin faintly smiled and nodded. "I'm afraid. The blood ancestor's cultivation is far above mine. If I'm hunted by him, I'm afraid I won't even have the chance to escape with my low cultivation. However, I was forced into this situation. If it wasn't for you scheming against me, I would not have plotted against you. Everything has a cause and effect. If I let you go, I will still offend the blood ancestor. But if I keep you at hand, I might have a chance to live." Yao Shishua quickly said, "If you let me go, I'll swear to never tell my father about it and the grudge between us will be cleared." Wang Lin carefully looked at Yao Shishua and said, "I don't believe you. You." Yao Shishua took a deep breath and said, "What do you want?" Wang Lin said, "Follow my rule, answer one of my questions, and I'll decrease the amount of time I seal you for by 50 years. Yao Shishua lowered her head. Her eyes showed signs of struggle. Wang Lin patiently looked at her. Half an incense stick of time later, she raised her head and coldly said, "Even if you seal me with my father's ability, he will still find me. At that time, I'll personally see my father destroy your body, extract your soul, and lock it in the nether place. At that time, you will know what it means to be better off dead than alive." Wang Lin let out a sigh and said, "You wasted your second chance. I hope you will treasure the next time." With that, his eyes lit up and he took a step forward. He arrived before Yao Shishua, grabbed her jaw, and with a little force, forced her little mouth open. Yao Shishua's face was completely pale. She wanted to struggle, but her body had no strength. Wang Lin revealed a smile that was not a smile as he inserted 2 fingers into Yao Shishua's mouth. When he withdrew his hand, there was a red needle between his fingers. You use trace amounts of essence from inside your body to form this needle. If given enough time, you might really be able to use this needle to block the life seal and die within this restriction. With that, Wang Lin crushed the needle, causing it to dissipate in a cloud of red mist. Yao Shishue's body trembled. Her gaze toward Wang Lin could no longer be described as vicious. Yao Shishue took a deep breath. Then a rare trace of clarity appeared in her eyes and she softly said, "Wang Lin, if there is a day I escape, I'll use any means to torture you in the most cruel way." At this moment, it was as if there was an invisible force working on Yao Shishue's body. It was slowly condensing all her hatred for Wang Lin, and gradually changing it to break open the void. Wang Lin faintly smiled and said, "It looks like there are too few restrictions on your body." He waved his right hand, and with a gentle breeze, Yao Shishue's clothes were blown away, revealing her voluptuous body. Wang Lin carefully examined her body. Yao Shishue's eyes still maintained the clarity she had before, but Wang Lin could see that it was starting to dissipate. Wang Lin's eyes lit up as his right hand reached out and poked several places on her body. Every location he poked was a sensitive spot for Yao Shishue. Every time his finger landed, he sent a trace of celestial spiritual energy into her body. Yao Shishue's body slowly turned red, and the clarity in her eyes disappeared and was replaced by endless humiliation and hostility once more. Yao Shishue's malice had reached its limit, and she hysterically shrieked, "Wang Lin, you are despicable, shameless. I, Yao Shishue, will never forgive you." Wang Lin let out a sigh of relief. This Yao Shishue's talent was indeed amazing. At that moment, she was going to turn her incredible hatred for him into a type of understanding. To enter the Tao through hatred, that was where that clarity from her eyes came from. If she was successful, then he wouldn't be able to seal her with just the life seal. That was why Wang Lin removed her clothes, stimulated her body with celestial spiritual energy until the clarity in her eyes disappeared, and destroyed the state she had just entered. Wang Lin softly said, "There are too few seals on you." His hands moved, creating countless restrictions that landed on Yao Shishue's body. Wang Lin's restrictions mercilessly created a cycle on her sensitive spots. As a result, that kind of stimulation from before would constantly be invading her body. This was the only way to keep her from regaining her clarity and have that kind of enlightenment like before. After doing all of this, Wang Lin pointed at her and the restrictions that had opened up immediately began to close. They turned back into a ball again and Wang Lin put it away inside his bag of holding. The blood ancestor's daughter is a problem. The only way to deal with her is to find a secret place to seal her. However, I must get all the secrets out of her first. If my cultivation reaches the ascendant stage, I can just use the soul search spell. If I were to use it now, a slight mistake might kill her and leave a lot of problems in the future. Time passed and more than 2 months quickly went by. There were only a few days until his promise with the demon general. On this day, Wang Lin walked out of the valley with Donghua behind him. Wang Lin slowly said, "After I leave, dispatch hundreds of people to the surrounding tribes regardless of their size. Use any method necessary to integrate into the other tribes. Use the soul fragments to resist the various memory-wiping potions the tribes have. Once inside, begin teaching them the soul refining spell so more people can learn them. As for the specifics, I'll let you arrange them yourself." Donghua softly responded in agreement. After pondering a bit, Wang Lin took out a piece of jade. He handed it to Donghua and said, "The soul refining spell actually has 2 parts. The first part is soul refining and the second part is soul extracting. This can't be taught to anyone who isn't a core disciple. Remember it well." Donghua took a deep breath as he accepted the jade with care. After reading it, he crushed it and said in a serious tone, "Ancestor, I have memorized it and will not forget Ancestor's words. This spell will only be taught to the core disciples of the soul refining tribe." Wang Lin nodded and his hand reached toward the sky. All of the black fog over the soul refining tribe immediately gathered in his hand, forming a 30-foot-long flag. Then he quickly swallowed it with his origin soul. Then he took out several normal soul flags and threw them into the sky, creating a black fog to cover the sky once more. After doing all of this, Wang Lin took a step forward and immediately disappeared. A voice came from far away into Donghua's ears. "When I return, I hope the tribe will have more than 1 million members." Ouyang knelt down on the ground and said in a serious voice, "I won't disappoint the ancestor." Although those words were for Wang Lin, who was now far away, it was more so a commitment to himself. Wang Lin moved through the sky, creating a streak of light, and charged directly toward ancient demon city. I wonder what kinds of dragons and tigers are hidden at the Sky Demon Country's capital. There will be more people from planet Tianyun as well. I wonder if I'll meet any of them on this trip to the capital. There are also those 10 or so people from the Dalu sword sect. If I meet any of them, I must capture one and question them about Zhou Yi's whereabouts. Wang Lin pondered, but his speed didn't slow down at all and he disappeared over the horizon. Demon General Mo Lihai was wearing a green shirt as he stood on top of the eastern gate of ancient demon city. Behind him were the chief commander and commanders. Mo Lihai looked into the distance and didn't say a word. After a long time, Mo Lihai withdrew his gaze and then turned around to carefully look at ancient demon city. In an instant he saw the wreckage at the center of the city. Mo Lihai thought, after I leave this time I won't come back, and another demon general will take over the city, so that wreckage has nothing to do with me. It is a pity that 13 was taken away by Wang Lin. I was only able to refine 17 of my 18 demon body techniques. However, if Wang Lin truly tries to help me this time, I'm confident I can enter the top 3 in the demon general competition. Then I'll obtain the qualification to enter the demon temple to cultivate, and once I come out, I'll be a vice commander-in-chief. Mo Lihai took a deep breath. His eyes concentrated in the distance and he revealed a smile. This person is someone who won't go back on his word. Mo Lihai laughed and his voice spread out. Brother Wang, I'm here. Wang Lin appeared in the sky above the eastern gate. His eyes looked at the group before falling on Mo Lihai. I made Brother Mo wait. Wang Lin smiled. No problem. This trip is very important for me, so I'll be relying on Brother Wang. Mo Lihai took one step and appeared before Wang Lin. Wang Lin laughed. No problem. It will take 3 transfer arrays to reach the capital, so Brother Wang, let's go. 2 rays of red light flew across ancient demon city and into the distance, leaving behind only thunderous echoes. Sky Demon City. It is located in the northern part of the Sky Demon Country. Surrounding it are countless mountains intersecting with each other. If one looks from the sky, these mountains seem to form the shape of 9 dragons coiling around the city. The 9 dragon heads all point toward a secluded lake. It is called Dragon Lake, the holy symbol of the Sky Demon Country. The ancient demon temple is inside this Dragon Lake. Dragon Lake is heavily guarded. Sky Demon City is in front of Dragon Lake. To be more accurate, this city is formed by 9 cities with similar sizes to ancient demon city. The 9 cities make an 8 divinatory trigram with the royal palace at the center. There is a river around the royal palace with 8 bridges linking to each of the 8 cities. The royal palace is where the demon emperor lives, and is filled with exquisite pavilions. The other 8 cities are also distinct and have their own styles. It is early morning, and the entire Sky Demon City is shrouded by a faint, green mist that comes from the Dragon Mountain ranges. The Demon Emperor calls it dragon energy, and cultivating this energy can increase cultivation. The entire Sky Demon City is like a large monster. As the green mist slowly dissipates, the sounds of people waking up makes it look like the giant beast is slowly awakening as well. There are 18 transfer arrays outside of Sky Demon City, and they are guarded by demon soldiers year-round. Of these 18 transfer arrays, 8 of them are used by the civilians, such as merchants, to travel everywhere. The remaining 10 can only be used by those with high status. There is a very clear distinction between the classes. The 14th transfer array is for the demon general's use only. Every time it actives, a demon general appears. A demon general is considered a powerhouse in Sky Demon City, one who controls a large amount of troops and amazing spells. At this moment, among the demon soldiers outside the 14th transfer array, there was clearly a demon soldier whose armor had more lines than the others. This soldier loosened his shoulders and put down his weapon. Then he took off his helmet, sat on it, turned around, and shouted, "Ergo, come here and massage my shoulders." After he shouted, one of the soldiers quickly ran out. He put on a smart face as he quickly got behind the person and began to massage. He asked, "Captain, is my strength good?" The captain moved his shoulders and smiled. "Yes, pretty good. Among you brats, you have the best control of strength." "Captain, normally this transfer array barely opens once a month. Why has it opened so much recently? It seems like a lot of demon generals are rushing here." Ergo took his chance to ask the question that had been bothering him for a while. today my mood is good, so I'll tell you." As the captain said that, the guards all immediately closed in. Apparently they all wanted to know what was going on as well. You guys are all new recruits from the last 100 years, so it is not strange you don't know about it. Every 300 years, there is a big competition between the demon generals, and the demon emperor personally attends it. The reward is sometimes demonic treasures or demonic spells. However, this time the competition has a completely different meaning. Because 200 years ago we suffered heavy losses against the fire demon country, including 2 vice commander-in-chiefs. That is why the demon emperor will pick 2 new vice commander-in-chiefs in this competition. After this was said, all the surrounding demon soldiers' eyes widened and their faces were filled with shock. Although demon generals and vice commander-in-chiefs were only half a rank apart, the gap was almost impossible to cross. In the countless years that the Sky Demon country has existed, there have only been 8 commander-in-chiefs and 8 vice commander-in-chiefs, while there have been hundreds of demon generals. A so-called vice commander-in-chief is not the commander-in-chief's assistant but the person next in line for the commander-in-chief position. Only the vice commander-in-chief can challenge the commander-in-chief for the position. In the Sky Demon country, once the commander-in-chief dies, a vice commander-in-chief takes over. That is the first step to becoming a commander-in-chief, become a vice commander-in-chief. Looking at the shock on the surrounding demon soldiers' faces, the captain felt very proud. He let out a cough and said, "That is why the previously proud demon generals all came here." With how important this matter is, even those that originally didn't intend to participate are all coming as well. The 14th transfer array we guard is for demon generals only. That is why it has been so busy for the past several days. The demon soldier massaging his shoulder said, "Captain, which Lord Demon General do you think will win?" This is not easy to say. For someone to become a demon general, they must have powerful spells, but even spells have differences in strength. I believe that Lord Mo, who holds the city next to the fire demon country, can enter the top 3. Also, there is the ancient demon city's Lord Mo. His cultivation is also considered high among demon generals. Just as the captain reached this point, his expression suddenly changed. He immediately stood up and the helmet flew into the air and landed on his head. Then his hand reached out and his weapon flew into his hand. He did this in almost an instant. The demon soldiers were all already accustomed to their captain's actions. Right now, even without his command, they were all standing straight and facing forward. Just at this moment, rings of light appeared above the transfer array, and there was a burst of demonic spiritual energy from it. Then 2 figures slowly appeared inside the transfer array, and just as they appeared, they each took a step forward. They both stepped out of the transfer array at the exact same time. Mo looked at the capital before him as he took a deep breath and said to the person behind him, "Brother Wang, it has been more than 30 years since I've returned to the capital." Wang Lin looked at the giant city before him. Although it was big, it was within Wang Lin's expectation. After all, this was the capital of Sky Demon country. "Greetings, General Mo." Just as the 2 stepped out, the demon soldiers outside immediately greeted them. Mo nodded slightly and smiled at Wang Lin. "Brother Wang, this way." With that, he took a step and quickly moved toward the western gate. Wang Lin quickly followed, and the 2 of them disappeared into the distance. After the 2 of them left, the captain let out a sigh of relief. The demon soldier next to him whispered, "Captain, who is that person the demon general brought with him?" During this time, many of the demon generals had brought strangers with them. The captain stared at the demon soldier and said, "The competition between the demon generals this time is very important to all the demon generals, so they would naturally seek aid. For this person to be chosen by General Mo, he must have something special about him, so you all best not think too much about it." He looked toward the direction where Wang Lin and Mo went and thought, that person was recognized by Mo and was brought along using this transfer array, so his cultivation must not be simple. Also, from how polite Mo was to him, this person is definitely not simple. Mo was a demon general, so the soldiers at the western gate were extremely respectful when they saw him. They led them into the city before respectfully going back to their post. Mo looked at Wang Lin and sincerely said, "Brother Wang, the various forces in Sky Demon City are very messy, especially with all the demon generals gathering. It would be best for you to not live in the city and instead come with me to my mansion. How about it?" There were 2 cities connected to the western gate. The first was XIAN City and the second was Hong City. Mo said, "Sky Demon City has a total of 8 outer cities, and those 8 outer cities are split into inner and outer rings. Sky, Earth, XIAN, and Yellow are the 4 inner cities, while Universe, Eternity, Hong, and Desolate are the outer cities. The inner cities are for civilian court officials, and the outer cities are for military. There are also more differences based on one's status. I live in Hong City. Wang Lin pondered a bit and nodded. I'll listen to Brother Emo. Emo Lihai faintly smiled and nodded at Wang Lin. He then walked forward, and 1,000 feet before them was a fork in the road. The left route led to XIAN City and the right to Hong City. Wang Lin followed Emo Lihai's guidance and walked through the city. This Hong City was very prosperous with many shops and people. The streets were very lively as people came and went. The road was very wide, but the crowds were all concentrated in the 2 sides, leaving an opening. The size of the road in the middle. Standing in the middle would allow you to see the road going far into the distance. Emo Lihai saw Wang Lin's gaze fall on the opening, so he smiled and explained, "This road is a military road, so ordinary people are not allowed to walk there." Just at this moment, roars came from the military road in the distance, and soon, a group of black war horses quickly rushed over. Wang Lin spread out his divine sense and found 19 horses in total. There was a black armored soldier sitting on each of them with cultivations roughly matching soul formation cultivators. The demonic spiritual energy from their bodies were all fused together in a mysterious way. There was demonic spiritual energy swirling in the sky above them, and it formed a vague shadow of a giant beast. The 19 of them charged directly at Wang Lin and Emo Lihai. Wang Lin looked at Emo Lihai and found that although Emo Lihai's expression was serious, there was a hidden smile on his face. The 19 of them stopped about a dozen or so feet from them. Then they all got off their horses, took a step forward, kneeled down and loudly said, "Greetings, General Emo." Emo Lihai laughed. Then he waved his hand and said, "All of you get up. This person is my good friend Vice General Wang. In the future when you see him, it is the same as meeting me." The 19 of them turned toward Wang Lin without any hesitation and said, "Greetings, Vice General Wang." Wang Lin nodded lightly. The voices of these 19 people, and the scene they created drew everyone's attention. Their faces were filled with shock and they retreated far away. "Brother Wang, follow me to my mansion. I'll have people prepare fine wine for us, so let's have a drink." Emo Liahi jumped onto one of the war horses. Wang Lin also jumped on a war horse and laughed. "Is it good wine?" "Of course it is good wine." Emo Lihai and Wang Lin looked at each other before laughing. Then the 2 of them rode off together, neither in front nor behind the other. The 19 people and remaining 17 war horses followed them. As the group of people moved along the military road, there were suddenly sounds of horses from the distance. Emo Lihai's expression sank, and instead of slowing down, he moved even faster. Wang Lin's eyes lit up. He saw an acquaintance. As the sounds of horses approached from the military road before them, a team of more than 10 war horses charged toward them. There were 2 people in front of this group of war horses. One of them was wearing blue armor, and he had purple, flowing hair that revealed his demonic face. His face was so handsome that there was a demonic feel to it. However, there was a scar on the right side of his face that completely destroyed his overall appearance. The aura of beauty disappeared and was replaced by a vicious and evil aura. There was a person sitting on the war horse beside the man with the scar. His face was thin and pale, but his eyes were bright. When he saw Wang Lin riding on the war horse, his eyes revealed a mysterious light. The 2 groups of people didn't slow down at all and charged head-on toward each other. The 2 groups were like 2 demonic beasts mercilessly charging at each other. The evil person with the scar stared at Emo Lihai. In his eyes, no one other than Emo Lihai existed. At this moment it seemed like the earth itself was trembling, and the 2 sides got closer and closer. Just at the moment they were about to collide, Emo Lihai let out a laugh. Then his right hand formed a fist and he threw a punch. This punch moved like the roaring wind that could collapse everything into nothingness, and it flew directly at the evil-looking man. They could hear the sound barrier breaking before the punch even closed in on the evil-looking man, and a powerful fist intent appeared within this punch. The evil-looking man's expression didn't change. He raised his right hand and pointed forward with his index finger. Then he quickly pointed forward with his middle finger, and in a flash, he did the same with all 5 fingers. Then his 5 fingertips gathered together to form a cone and pointed forward together. A soft, muffled sound suddenly came from both of them. Then a ripple spread out from the 2 of them. The ripple, however, only spread out 30 feet and dissipated at the edge of the military road, so it didn't damage any buildings. The two of them had to have very good control of their strength to ensure the shockwave was as small as possible. The evil-looking man's body shifted as the war horse below him let out a painful wail because all 4 of its legs were broken. Then the horse's body exploded, so the evil-looking man was forced to retreat 3 steps, and each of those 3 steps caused the ground to tremble. The person stared at Mo Lihai and said, "Tin collapse fist in tent." Mo Lihai's body also trembled, and he began to back up with his war horse as well. Wang Lin's eyes lit up as he raised his right hand and pointed at Mo Lihai. Wang Lin's use of power was very intricate and was able to cancel out a lot of the force for Mo Lihai. Mo Lihai took a deep breath as he stabilized his body. He then got off the war horse unscathed, and the contest between the two of them had been decided. Mo Lihai smiled. The 6-fingered demon sword is only this much. The evil-looking man's gaze shifted from Mo Lihai and fell on Wang Lin. He said in a serious tone, "What is your name, foreigner?" Wang Lin looked at this person and didn't speak. The evil-looking man frowned. At this moment, the thin person beside him softly said, "His name is Wang Lin." Mo Lihai's eyes narrowed as he looked at Wang Lin and the thin-looking man. The evil-looking man asked, "Oh, you guys know each other?" The thin-looking man looked at Wang Lin and slowly said, "He is my junior apprentice brother. Long time no see, brother Sun Tao. It looks like you have to go into closed-door cultivation for several years to recover from your serious injury," said Wang Lin. His voice was calm, so it was impossible to know if he was happy or angry. At the moment he saw Sun Tao, he realized that Sun Tao was injured, and this was a serious injury that even affected Sun Tao's origin soul. Although the injury had been forcibly suppressed, Sun Tao's cultivation had dropped from the mid-stage of ascendant to the peak of the late stage of soul transformation. Sun Tao took a careful look at Wang Lin, and then the shock in his heart slowly calmed down. When he first saw Wang Lin, he naturally discovered that Wang Lin's cultivation had jumped 2 steps from the mid-stage of soul transformation to the peak of the late stage. Sun Tao slowly said, "Junior brother Wang, it looks like you had a fortunate encounter, but you have to be careful in the Sky Demon City because of the people from the Dalu Sword sect. My injuries were caused by them." There was a hint of anger in his voice. This anger wasn't directed at Wang Lin but the Dalu Sword sect. Wang Lin pondered a bit before slapping his bag of holding and taking out a bottle of pills. Although these pills wouldn't have much effect on Sun Tao, they represented Wang Lin's goodwill. He tossed the pills at Sun Tao and then rode forward on his war horse without saying a word. Mo Lihai looked profoundly at the two of them before leading his people around the evil-looking man and catching up to Wang Lin. The evil-looking man coldly looked at the backs of Mo Lihai and company and asked, "How is this person?" Sun Tao put away the pills, then he pondered a bit and said, "If I wasn't injured, I could kill him. Don't underestimate him. This Mo Lihai has a total of 3 powerful spells. The first spell is the 10 Collapse Fist Intent, the second is the 100 Wave Demon Sea, and the third spell is something the Demon Emperor personally taught him, so it is very powerful." The evil-looking man sighed and said, "If you weren't injured, I'd be 100% confident in winning this competition." Sun Tao pondered a bit. Shortly after he said, "If I get the materials, I can refine a heavenly cloud pill, which can restore my cultivation to the early stage of ascendant for a short period of time." The evil-looking man nodded and said, "Don't worry about materials, I have already sent people to gather them." Then he changed the topic and asked, "How is your junior apprentice brother?" Sun Tao revealed a complex look before letting out a sigh and saying, "Strong. Very strong. Even when his cultivation was not at the peak of the late stage of soul transformation and only at the mid-stage, it was best not to provoke him." The evil-looking man's eyes narrowed. He had interacted with Sun Tao for a long period of time, and this was the first time Sun Tao had ever evaluated someone like this. On the military road, Mo Lihai looked at Wang Lin and smiled. "Thanks, brother Wang, for the help earlier. Otherwise, my war horse would have turned into a pile of flesh and blood as well." Wang Lin shook his head. "That is but a small matter. Brother Mo doesn't have to thank me." Mo Lihai slowly said, "That person's name is Shi Shao, and his spell's power, the 6-fingered demon sword, is unpredictable. With your senior apprentice brother's help, He will be one of my main threats this time. They quickly moved along the military road, and after one incense stick of time, they stopped before a mansion. Although this place wasn't big, it had everything that was needed. It even had fake mountains and water. It was quite elegant. Wang Lin was living in the southern building right across from the fake mountain. Mo Lihai arranged 2 sergeants to be under Wang Lin's control before leaving to meet the Demon Emperor. He spoke to Wang Lin before he left and they agreed to drink together once he comes back. Wang Lin sat in the lotus position in his room. Aside from helping Mo Lihai, his other goal during this trip to the capital city was to get the position of Demon General. This place was the capital of Sky Demon Country, so experts were as common as clouds here. Only by making himself stand out among the others would it make it a lot easier for him to get the position of Demon General. Even Sun Tao's mid-stage ascendant cultivation was injured by someone, and forced down to the peak of the late stage of soul transformation. He said that it was someone from the Dalu Sword sect. There are more than 10 people from the Dalu Sword sect who entered, and unless multiple people ganged up on Sun Tao, there is no way for him to be this injured. After pondering for a long time, Wang Lin took a deep breath. The reason he gave Sun Tao the pills was to send a message of good faith. Although they had their differences here, they were still, after all, from the same sect. When facing the threat of the Dalu Sword sect, they couldn't fight against each other. After pondering for a long time, Wang Lin closed his eyes and began to cultivate. Mo Lihai returned at dusk, and his eyes were filled with joy. He chatted with Wang Lin over wine and they talked about various spells. Mo Lihai also told Wang Lin about the spells of several other demon generals. Time quickly passed, and in the blink of an eye, Wang Lin had spent 4 days in the Mo mansion. He spent almost all his time converting demonic spiritual energy into celestial spiritual energy to make his foundation even more stable. Wang Lin didn't ask when the battle between the demon generals would start. He understood that when he is needed, Mo Lihai will ask for him. Therefore, Wang Lin was in no rush, and in addition to cultivation he spent a lot of time pondering. What he was pondering about was the celestial slaughter art. After the slaughter in ancient demon city, Wang Lin's understanding of the celestial slaughter art became more profound. Wang Lin also spent the 3 months at the soul refining tribe like this. When he wasn't cultivating, he spent the rest of the time pondering about the celestial slaughter art. For him, a change in location wouldn't affect his mentality at all. Wang Lin's calmness caught the attention of the 2 sergeants assigned to him, and they gradually began to admire Wang Lin. In their view, for someone at Wang Lin's cultivation level to continue to work so hard to cultivate, he would definitely become a demon general in the future. Mo Lihai was extremely busy during this period of time. He left early almost every day and returned late. He went to meet various commander-in-chiefs and vice-commander-in-chief, as well as friendly demon generals to exchange information. He could feel that the entire Sky Demon City was like a keg of explosives that will explode when the competition between the demon generals begin. Wang Lin quietly stayed in the Mo mansion for 4 days, and after that, he stopped cultivating. He sat in the courtyard and his hands rapidly moved, forming seals. Each one of the seals contained the power of the celestial slaughter art. Wang Lin sat there for 7 days. At the start, the 2 sergeants calmly looked at Wang Lin from a distance, but soon the 2 started feeling a powerful frenzy of killing intent coming from inside their hearts. Their hearts trembled violently, and their eyes were bloodshot, revealing powerful killing intent. Their sanity was already gone. Just as this killing intent reached its limit and the 2 were about to explode, Wang Lin suddenly opened his eyes, and his eyes were filled with clarity. When the 2 of them saw Wang Lin's eyes, it was as if cold water had been poured on their heads, and they immediately sobered up. Although they sobered up, a large amount of the cultivation inside their bodies disappeared. The 2 of them were filled with fear and never dared to watch Wang Lin cultivate again. The celestial slaughter art takes the path of slaughter to create life seals. The amount of life I have taken is not small, but don't I have much of this slaughter aura? There must be a reason. Wang Lin pondered as he carefully recalled every time he successfully used the celestial slaughter art. Scenes from the past flashed through Wang Lin's brain. This process was very slow. Wang Lin slowly sorted through these memories as he sat inside the courtyard. The memories of him successfully using the celestial slaughter art played slowly in his mind as he looked for similarities between them. After a long time, Wang Lin let out a sigh. After carefully looking through all the times he successfully created slaughter energy, it seemed like they all happened by chance and there was nothing in common between them. Although, if there is one thing, on the day I killed Sima Yan there was something strange. At that moment I acted out of anger and was able to create a strand of slaughter energy. Wang Lin's eyes lit up but then dimmed once more. However, this doesn't make any sense, because there were strands of slaughter energy created when I was completely calm. There was also some slaughter energy created from demon soldiers, but as to which specific soldiers they were, it is impossible to tell. Wang Lin pondered for a long time, but he still couldn't find anything, and his brows gradually furrowed. Cultivating the celestial slaughter art is one of the key reasons I entered this place. I learned this spell to use it against Tua. Senator Tuasen is very strong, so I will need a lot to go against him. Now that I have the blood soul pills, I have a much better chance of surviving with these two combined. However, I only have a limited amount of blood soul pills, so my priority is still this celestial slaughter art. Wang Lin pondered. He had been cultivating the celestial slaughter art for several years now, and creating the first strand of slaughter energy meant that he had reached the first stage. However, in order to master this spell, the difficulty was too high. I feel like there are some mysteries about this celestial slaughter art, but the amount I control is too little to test. Wang Lin raised his right hand and 5 strands of gray gas moved between his fingers. Only 5 strands. Even counting the one sealing Yao Shishue, it is only 6 strands. Wang Lin let out a sigh. He still hasn't been able to see through the celestial slaughter art. He was still quite confused about how the slaughter energy was produced. He thought of many reasons, but each of those reasons only applied to one situation. It looks like I need to do a lot of tests and deductions to have a chance to understand the mysteries of the celestial slaughter art. Wang Lin's eyes became cold and a killing intent emitted from his eyes. He pondered a little before spreading out his divine sense and finding the 2 sergeants responsible for his living conditions behind the fake mountain. The 2 of them feared Wang Lin's spell from the bottom of their hearts, so they didn't dare to stay near Wang Lin. However, the Lord's order was something they had to follow, so they decided to guard the entrance to the courtyard and didn't allow anyone to enter. Wang Lin's divine sense swept past the 2 sergeants and he sent out a divine message. Shortly after, the 2 sergeants walked into the courtyard. They stopped 3 feet from Wang Lin and respectfully said, "Greetings, Vice General Wang." Wang Lin calmly said, "I'm going out, the 2 of you lead the way." The 2 of them were startled, but they quickly nodded. Wang Lin immediately moved forward several feet. The 2 sergeants almost immediately followed, but one of them hesitated for a bit before respectfully asking, "Vice General Wang, should we prepare a war horse?" "No need." In a flash, Wang Lin moved around the fake mountain and left the courtyard. The 3 of them left the Mo mansion with Wang Lin in front. The Mo mansion was on the eastern corner of Hong City, and was relatively quiet. He casually walked along the street. Wang Lin didn't walk very fast. He looked around and gradually made his way to the main street of Hong City. There was a river nearby along with many people, and shops filled the sides of the street. It was very lively. Bursts of noise slowly drifted over as men and women walked on the street. The clothing in Demon Spirit Land was open-minded, especially the women's clothing. Not only were they colorful, but they revealed a large amount of skin and were very pleasing to the eyes. Everything before him caused Wang Lin's tense mood from the last few days to relax. He walked the streets as if he was immortal, and the celestial spiritual energy inside his body slowly hid itself like a river drying up. Along the way, Wang Lin would sometimes stop outside a shop. Sometimes he would enter and sometimes he would just leave, but the amount of time he stayed was always very short. He was like a passerby as he slowly walked through this foreign city. Wang Lin's appearance wasn't handsome, but because he was a cultivator, he gave off a very refined temperament. As a result, the more open-minded women among the crowd would sometimes place their gazes on Wang Lin as they passed by. Wang Lin looked like a defenseless scholar with his white robe. As for the 2 sergeants behind him, in the view of the public, they looked like typical guards. However, there was still an aura about Wang Lin that was very different from this place, so there was no way for him to truly belong here. As a result, a faint feeling of sadness spread out from him. Among the pedestrians, there would be pairs of men and women talking and laughing with each other. Compared to them, Wang Lin's figure was very lonely. As he walked among the crowd, the surrounding noise seemed to be part of another world. The pairs of men and women seemed to belong in another time and space. Nothing before him had the slightest hint of familiarity or connection to him. An indefinable feeling appeared in Wang Lin's heart, and he let out a sigh. This road was very long, but he didn't want to continue walking down it anymore. The day was getting late, and just as he was ready to leave, the sound of a zither that was filled with a faint hint of sadness entered his ears. This faint sadness and zither music strangely fitted Wang Lin's mood very well and caused him to stop. Wang Lin slowly followed the sound of the zither. Not far away from the street was a river. This was one of the inner rivers of Sky Demon City. There were several boats on the river, and this zither music was coming from one of the boats. Wang Lin silently stood on the side of the river, listening to the zither being played. With his eyesight, he was able to see a woman playing the zither on the boat. This woman only revealed her back. Her back was like her zither music, revealing a faint feeling of sadness and loneliness. Not far away from her were a few young people laughing and drinking. The sound of the laughter was very out of place next to the zither music. Wang Lin quietly looked at the boat. As the zither music fell in his ears, he savored the sound and slowly found a sense of familiarity. At this moment, he remembered the peaceful valley back on planet Suzaku, his home with Li Muan. Wan Er's zither music from those peaceful days still accompanied Wang Lin. Wan Er's zither music also contained a hint of sadness, but the Wang Lin back then didn't understand it. This sadness was far too faint and ethereal. After Wan Er left, Wang Lin never heard that zither music again. Today, thanks to hearing the same zither music, the sadness in his heart slowly resurfaced. Before Li Muan left, Wang Lin's feeling for her had always been that he was moved and felt responsible for her hundreds of years of waiting. This isn't love. However, after Wan Er left, Wang Lin would unconsciously think of Li Muan sometimes. At those times his heart hurt a lot. It was as if he entered a forest of loneliness. Inside this forest, the emotion that lay dormant in him slowly awakened. It was like a cup of bitter water inside Wang Lin's heart, creating ripples that won't easily disappear. He always remembered the panic in her eyes when they first meet. Even though this zither music was obviously fake, Wang Lin could still feel Wan Er slowly walking out from the void toward him and entering his arms. It was like back in the valley when he and Li Muan would silently watch the sunset, waiting for sunrise. It was always after one lost something that they would want it most. It was also when one parted that they wanted to come back. During the years after Wan Er left, Wang Lin recalled her time and time again, making her more and more important. She was now engraved in his heart and would last until the end of time. The day was getting late, and before the sky was completely dark, a ray of starlight suddenly appeared in the sky. Too many unimaginable things happened in the demon spirit land. No one asked where the starlight or moonlight came from. That wasn't important. What was important was that this starlight along with the zither music had touched the memories Wang Lin had sealed away. The starlight imprinted in Wang Lin's eyes, and along with the zither music gradually drifting away, it caused a feeling to slowly condense in his heart. This was a feeling of loneliness, and it stayed in his heart for a long time. The zither music became softer and softer as Wang Lin raised his hand to touch between his eyebrows. It was as if he was touching Li Muan inside the heaven-defying bead. And he muttered, "Wan Er, we still meet once more. This is my promise to you." The boat slowly left, and the figure of that woman also disappeared. At the moment the music almost completely disappeared, the woman seemed to notice something and turned around. She looked at the riverside in the distance, but it was too dark to see. Still in this darkness, she seemed to see a lonely figure slowly walking away. On the boat, the woman let out a sigh and began to move her hand as sad music played once more and filled the river. Although there was light on the boat, to her, everything was always dark, whether it was day or night. Her jade-like hand moved in the darkness, and the laughter that came from the boat was quickly shattered by her zither music. She sat the bow of the boat, and there was no light in her eyes, but at this moment, she was like a lotus flower blooming in the mud. However, this was a bloom that no one could understand and no one paid attention to. The zither music still echoed throughout the area, but no one was seriously listening. Even if there was someone listening seriously, she couldn't see.